I just want to start out with this verse here. 1 Timothy 6:9. But they that will be rich fall into a temptation and a snare, and into a foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they erred from the faith, and pierced themselves with many sorrows. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today is going to be kind of a different video, but I'm going to start with Revelation 11:18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged. And thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, and the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great. And that shouldest destroy them that destroy the earth. So, who do you think God is talking about here, right? Us with our cars and our cow farts? Or these rich companies that are taking a football field every hour, or whatever the ratio was back in the day? So think about that one. Okay. So I do want to say this. Ephesians 6:12, and I bring this one up a lot, but I always got to bring it up. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So, we don't hate people, right? We need to focus on the ones who are behind the, have the actual power, I should say. But against the principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, right? These are your fallen angels, your gods, and demons, but also the human powers that are in play as well. But notice as it says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, so you don't hate the person you disagree with, or even if they're doing vile things, right? We got to focus on the ones who are truly have the power, right? Okay. This is where it all starts. This wanting to get us off this planet to replace us with their creation, right? So, let me find it. This is Enoch chapter 69. These are talking about 5 chief ones, right? And what's interesting is the Bible talks about 2, right? We have Satan and the Assyrian right here. Isaiah 10:5. O Syrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is my indignation. I will send them against a hypocritical nation. Sounds like, anyways, I'm sorry. And against the people of my wrath will I give him charge. So he's taken over the people that are against God, to take the spoil and take prey, and to tread them down like mire of the streets. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither does his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy. Remember, the destroyer comes over over Exodus in Egypt. Interesting. So here he is, the Assyrian. Okay. I just want to say that so you guys can kind of get the understanding that there is preference for this stuff, right? And they very well could be seraphim as well, like Satan is. A fiery serpent, if you don't know. Okay, let me find it. Okay. In verse 12, chapter 69, verse 12, first Enoch. And the 5th was named Casdia. This is he who showed the children of men death, which destroys everything. Could not have taken... Oh, whoops. That's not the one I wanted. I'm sorry, guys. No, it is one. Um, I'll reread that. And the fifth was named Castilla. This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked smitings of spirits and demons, and the smitings of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away. Real quick. That's interesting, because it's showing up again, isn't it? But Matthew 24:37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. That was going on in Noah's day. And then it shows up again auto-magically, right? But anyways, so this is where it all starts, right? They're teaching men to smite, little ones. Okay. Sorry, angers me a little bit, but anyways. So now we're going to go to the Population Research Institute, and I'll put all this stuff in the description, of course, so you guys can look at it yourself. And from what I can tell, it is a credible institute. So, anyways, there are other naysayers, but anyways, the myth of overpopulation is an unfounded belief that the number of people on Earth will exceed the carrying capacity of the planet in the foreseeable future, leading to economic or social collapse, and that the actions ought to be taken to curb the population growth. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is to show you this stuff comes from the elite, right? Not from us, from the elite. But anyways, population alarmists who buy into the overpopulation myth believe that the world's growing population will strip the earth of its usable resources and will outpace innovation and rates of production. This, they believe, will cause diminishing standards of living, more poverty, more hunger, famine, and starvation, water shortages, pestilence, war, and conflict over diminishing resources, the evisceration of wildlife habitats, and environmental catastrophes, global climate change. Where did the overpopulation myth come from? In 1798, an Anglican minister by the name of Thomas Malthus published the first edition of an essay on the principle of population, where he speculated that under perfect economic conditions, humans reproduce exponentially, while their ability to increase agriculture output increases only linearly at best. Malthus theorized that there were two kinds of checks that kept the population growth rate in check with the food supply. He's an elite, by the way. Malthus falsely believed that population checks were necessary to prevent the proliferation of poverty and to prevent catastrophic war, famine, epidemics caused by overpopulation. Who are the ones to go? I want you to think about that. Who are the ones to go, at least first? A phenomenon known as Malthusian catastrophe. Subsequent editions of the Malthus essay were widely read among the upper classes in Europe. Many of whom bought into the false belief that the high birth rates among the poor would overwhelm Western society and lead to war, famine, and poverty. Malthus' ideas quickly became the foundation for a movement that began to preach population control and contraception as the keys to socio-economic development and the betterment of Western society. Now, this is for entertainment purposes and for educational, use. I'm just reading what this article says here. Although Malthus himself generally opposed, here we go, keys to development and betterment of Western society, Although Malthus himself generally opposed on religious grounds and the use of, you know, birth control and, night night as methods of population control. His followers, the Neo Malthusans, had no such concerns. And you guys wonder why I rail against the church so much, the mainstream church. Okay, Neo Malthusianism became the first movement in Western world to publicly advocate for practicing birth control, a practice at that time still widely condemned by society as obscene and immoral. Crazy how that's changed. All right, now we're going to get into some more pastors saying the darndest things, right? Oop, let me make sure that's the right. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So here's Kenneth Copeland saying that justifying his jet, let's just say.
Do you really believe that human
Sorry, guys.
beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did.
Now, Oral used to fly airlines, right? But even back there then, man, it got to the place where it was.
These are the people you're listening to on TV, by the way.
Agitating his spirit, people coming up to him. He had become famous, and they wanting him to pray for him and all that. You can't manage that today. Right. This dope-filled world. Right. And get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right. Do you?
Yeah, I'm not the. What are you doing behind closed doors? I mean, I don't want to, judge this guy, whatever, because I don't know him. But if you're criticizing that, anyways.
Really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever.
Okay. That is from Doctrinal Watchdog. So if you want to check him out, I'll go ahead and subscribe, give him some support. But yeah, not only that. Why is that? Okay, let me make sure. Okay. Turn this up a little bit. Down a little bit more.
Know who Kenneth Copeland is, correct? Well, I'm pretty sure you know that he's a warlock. And watch him do the satanic blood ritual live on TV.
Right here, where my mouse is.
And then I would do the same.
It's right here, if you guys don't know.
Jesus said, take this cup. This is my blood of the new.
Where's this in the Bible? Could someone show me?
Covenant.
Now we mixed our blood.
Which is his and which is mine. Now our blood has symbolically.
That's what people are watching. He's doing a literal blood sacrifice. A mock one, whatever, right? It's a binding one.
My husband makes here. Now at the communion table.
Yes, sir.
He said, this is my blood of the new covenant. All of you drink all of it. Judas had to drink that.
Yes, sir.
Said, why did he have to mention Judas?
So, and I want you to be this way every time you take communion, and you ought to take it a lot. A lot.
Again, where's that in the Bible? I mean, you take communion or whatever, the Lord's Supper and all that, but not like this. Not act like you're cutting your hand and then like it's, my goodness gracious.
His blood is in my body. Yes, sir. It's in there. His blood is mixed with my blood. Can you see it?
Wow, this dude is nuts. Let me just
Yeah.
tell you.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Anyways, So we're going to earth.org here. So 50% of the Earth's land surface remains relatively untouched by humans. So let's say, I don't know if this is true, okay? Not this part, but let's say, what is it, 14% oops, of humans live on the Earth's surface. 75% of that is water, so that would make probably like around 29%, I think, somewhere around there. And let's see. So take away inhospitable lands, maybe 20% or whatever. That still leaves around, let's say, 30% open, right? That we can live on. And you get these, like, which I'm all for, nature, what do they call them? Nature parks and stuff like that. The problem is the double standard, right? You can't go in there, but these rich corporations can come in with how much money and make a little resort. We're just taking a little bit off. And it's like, wait a minute, well, we can't go in there, but they can. So, anyways, I just want to put that out there. 50% of the Earth's land surface remains relatively untouched. Around half of the Earth's terrestrial land surface remains, okay. For as long as humans have existed, they have impacted their surrounding environment. This era of human dominance has been coined as the Anthropocene era by some scientists who argue that the Earth is being overwhelmingly defined by the actions of humans above natural processes. What does that sound like? Let's see. Like this? Okay. And I'm calling out Christians who said this stuff. Everyone. It's quite sickening. But anyways, who argue that Earth is being, whilst it's evident that mankind profoundly affects the environment, being able to quantify this is more challenging. Initial efforts to establish the global extent to which human civilization has impacted the Earth began in 1980s when wild areas were identified and mapped, with efforts progressing through the following decades. You can't go in there, but they can. In the study, researchers combined 4 different global maps of human influence to determine the average human influence for different regions in the world, right? And now, again, I'm all for having nature habitats and all that, right? But if I can't go in, you can't go in, right? You know what I mean? But anyways, interestingly, their findings show that whilst the maps analyzed use different methodologies, they show similar results for the level of human influence across the globe. They conclude that just over 50% of the Earth's land surface can be classified as having low human influence, or being untouched completely, with the range of 48-56% depending on the type of human influence map used. Okay, so you guys get the gist. It's also building up to something here I'm going to be talking about. Okay, Luke 19:40. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, and the stones would immediately cry out. Right? So I'm showing you this to show you that everything God makes, to me, in my opinion, is alive in some way, some form or fashion, right? Because here you have it saying, the stones would immediately cry out, right? Because I think there's a lot of Christians out there who use the Bible and stuff like that to justify their not even following the way the Bible says to do that. You know what I mean? Because Israel, every 7th year, you had to let the land rest, right? And anyways, yeah, you guys get the gist, though. Okay, Job 10 and 10, or 12:10. In whose hand is the soul of every living thing and the breath of all mankind? So, I'm sorry. Okay, but ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall teach thee. Or speak to the earth. That's interesting. Is it saying the earth has a spirit too, right? And it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee, who knoweth not all these things, that the hand of the Lord hath brought this, or have wrought this. Now, I'm not saying, Gaia or anything like that, but it is alive in some sort of fashion, right? Okay, whose hand is the soul of every living thing and the breath of all mankind. Okay. Ecclesiastes 3:20. So I want to show you that animals have the same spirit as we do, right? So, verse 19 through 21. For that which befalleth the sons of man befalleth beasts. Interesting. So this is to all the Christians out there who say animals don't have a spirit. But anyways, even one thing befalleth them, as one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, which spirit means breath. So that a man hath no preeminence above a beast. For all is vanity. All go into one place, all are of the dust, and all turn to the dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of a man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that go downward to the earth? So this is saying there's animals that are going to go to hell too. Isn't that interesting? Because if you notice, your pets all have different personalities, right? One can be a butthole, and the other could be the nicest dog in the world, right? So, interesting. So God very much cares about this earth, right? Everything in moderation, right? You hear it all the time. Everything in moderation. And there's these Gnostic Hebrew root people out there who are saying eating meat is a sin. Paul literally says, talking to this Gnostic sect that says that, you know what I mean? But anyways, sorry for the technical difficulties here. I'm just going to finish it like this. Anyways, Exodus 20:25. And if thou wilt make an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, which means made from your hands and artificially made. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Again, God cares very much for not being fake, I guess you could say, right? Now, this is how the elite work, right? They move you into one space, right? Into these cities. They compact you because then they can control the water, control the food, pay extra taxes for this. So you're paying utilities and all this stuff, right? But the more you get to a rural area, you start seeing that you don't have to pay for water. You can just, build a well, and then you don't need to pay for sewage and stuff like that, right? Because you can have a septic tank, and then well, they grow the food, so they don't need the government's help, right? But you guys see where I'm going. They want you to be dependent on them, so they move you into these cities. So Genesis 11:1. And the whole earth was of one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, right? So the whole earth. And they said, one go to another. He made 4 of these cities, right? Anyways, go one to another, go to, and let us make brick. So see the difference? How God wanted his altars and stuff to be built? And burn them thoroughly. And they had a brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make us a name, and let us be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Interesting. And some say that this tower was a portal of some kind. Very well could have been. Now we're going to get into the Bolshevik Revolution. We're going to see how the elite use the peasantry, right? And what always happens is always happens. And I wish kids my age would realize that. But anyways, so we're going to start here. Or we'll just read this. Start. The kulaks, right? Or the liquidation of the kulaks as a class was part of Stalin's second revolution, or revolution from above. Interesting. Lodged at the end of 1929 with the decision to collectivize millions of peasant households. Interesting. The economic backwardness and political estrangement of the peasantry, which comprised the vast majority of the population of the Soviet Union. Crazy how there was a lot of them that went night-night. But anyways, which comprised the vast majority of the population of the Soviet Union, was the Achilles heel of the Soviet power. The peasant support for the Bolshevik Revolution spurred on by the 8th November 1917, right? Selling you sweet nothings, right? Decree on land, granting the peasants' demands for ownership of the land and fulfilling the dreams of rural Russia since peasant uprisings of the 17th century was short-lived. Pay attention to this, people my age. As early as 1918, as the Bolsheviks desperately needed to collect grain to secure their power, not your power, right? Not the peasants' power, their power, and to fight the Civil War, forced grain collections by armed groups of Red Army soldiers and hastily armed workers. Detachments alienated the same peasant producers who had helped bring down the old Tsar's order with their violent rebelliousness. The Civil War in the countryside was brutal and lethal. Millions of peasants died in the conflict, and some fighting on the side or the other. Many simply caught in between or back and forth, competing forth of the competing white and red armies. Anyways, so they straight up turned on them. Who would have thought that would have happened, huh? And this is what ended up happening, right? He put them all, sardined them, and then forced them to work on the farms. Now, we're going to pivot a little bit here. Where did this carbon footprint, right? Because before the Green Movement when the Green Movement started, it started out gunning for the big corporations, right? These corporations that are, cutting down football fields in the rainforest every hour and stuff like that, right? And then all of a sudden it shifted, like in 2007, 2008, it shifted. And then it was our fault, right? It was, you're the problem. You own cows. They fart. And that's bad, right? You're the problem. But I can still go on my nice private jet. That's not a problem. I'm not the problem, right? I'm not the one. Well, they're the ones who are destroying the earth, right? They're the ones who own these companies, getting millions and millions of dollars, destroying the earth. And they were very successful at turning the eye, right? Very successful at it. And now it's our fault. You're the problem because you drive a car. Don't mind their private jets. So we're going to see where the word carbon footprint came from. Ready? How big oil helped push the idea of a carbon footprint. Your carbon footprint. Plug in your lifestyle to an online calculator, instantly find out how much you are impacting the climate. It individualizes the climate crisis so you focus on yourself rather than the petrochemical companies pumping fossil fuels out of the ground. If that's politically convenient for big oil, it's because the carbon footprint concept was popularized in part by oil giant BP, that's British Petroleum. And the creation of the carbon footprint idea isn't the only place oil companies are shaping public opinion. Big oil's big PR. Professor Jeffrey Sopran, professor of the environmental science and policy at the University of Miami, where he directs Climate Accountability Lab. Amy Westfield, climate journalist, head of the investigative news. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. Part 1. Where is it? Is that it? And we won't go through this. But you guys get it. So, BP started this carbon footprint. I wonder why. But anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you guys for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.